Hey guys, it's Jana, and today I'm going to be doing the science experiment called the Fizzy Rock. Here are the ingredients. First step, measure out 1 tablespoon of baking soda and put it in your bowl. Now use a little bit of your food coloring. I'm using pink. I think this is enough. Now use a little bit of your water until it becomes a paste. Roll it into a rock shape. Put the rock into a plate. Now we wait for a couple of minutes until it's hardened. Now that is hardened, it's time for action. Now add your vinegar very slowly, and I'm going to be using 1/8 of a teaspoon. You know what, I'm just gonna add more. After a few seconds, this is gonna completely dissolve. You want to see the science behind this? Well, here we go. Well, when baking soda molecules react with vinegar molecules, they both release carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the gas that we release in our respiratory system. So when they both make carbon dioxide then causes fizzing and bubbles. That's what we saw earlier. If you enjoyed the science experiment, I personally enjoyed it, and I got to learn a lot of science behind it. And bye!
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Henry Grove, and this is the weekly hour report. The female is showing the same behavior every night. She comes to the entrance and looks inside. Then she jumps inside and scratches around. But every time she leaves the box, if she decides to stay in the box, it may be a good sign it's time to lay eggs. I will keep you updated. In the meantime, let's learn some more about barred owls.
The scientific name for barred owls is Strixvaria. They are carnivores and will eat rodents, rabbits, frogs, snakes, and birds, among other things. Here at Owlbox 1, birds seem to be the primary food source. Young owlets take food in small chunks. As they get bigger, they will swallow whole animals. After swallowing, the prey ends up in the gizzard or the ventriculus. The gizzard separates the digestible food from the undigestible. The undigestible stuff is compacted into a pellet, and the pellet is thrown up or cast out. Since it's in the way of the digestive system, it has to be cast out before the next meal. Included in the undigestible stuff are bones, feathers, hair, teeth, and claws. Here are a few owl pellets. The large one is from a grown adult. The smaller pellets came from smaller owls. When they are taken apart, bones and feathers are visible. Well, that's it for this week's Fun Facts. Reported live from Owlbox 1.
Okay, thanks, Kaylee. Thanks for joining us this week. I hope you learned something.
Hello, I'm Reagan Webb. I'm the elementary science coordinator, and we are here because we have a very exciting package that was delivered to us. It started out in Lebanon, Missouri yesterday, and it went to the post office, and this morning at 5 a.m. they called and said our chicks have arrived in Colombia. So I'm going to open the box and we're going to see how their journey was. And there's about 70-ish, maybe 60, between 60 and 70 chicks in here in one little box. So let's see how they did. They seem very excited to be here. They're all chirping. And they're probably 3 days old, 2 or 3 days old.
And so what you see here before, you'll see us sorting them in a little bit, but what you see in each compartment is you have some of this green, they call this solid water. It's a gel, and it just has enough liquid for them to sustain themselves for that 1 to 2 day journey. And then in this case, because it is so extremely cold, they also gave them each one of these large hand warmers that this guy's wanting to sit on. And now, early this morning, it had a little warmth left. I don't feel anything now, but that got them through the night and yesterday, because again, it's just so cold. And now we're going to quickly get them real water, some food, and better warmers, because they don't have their feathers yet, so we have to keep them really warm. All right, we will see you again in a few minutes when we start. We have 9 different breeds here, and so now we have to figure out, using the internet and pictures, which breed is which and get them into the right bin. Okay, so now what we've done, they all came together, mixed together in one box. We have 9 different breeds here. So we're at the Aslan Administration Building, and we have separated these into their breed boxes the best we can. It may not be perfect because we actually have 3 varieties of black chicks, and so we're trying to figure out, based on their markings, which Mrs. Webb's going to show you here, these are actually, we think, 2 different breeds. And so now what we're going to do is, every school gets a mixture. So Reagan's going to talk about what we're going to do next.
Okay, so we have some tubs that are ready to go to schools that have some bedding in the bottom, and we're going to put some water in there and some food for them, and then a little heater to keep them warm because they don't have their feathers. And we're going to put about one of each breed into each box for every school, so they have a variety of chickens to learn about when they get to their school.
The chicks had a long journey and they're very thirsty. So whenever you have new baby chicks, you need to dip their beak in the water so they know where to find it. Oh, yes. That was delicious.
Okay, so we separated them into breeds. So again, there was 9 different breeds, and they're going to 6 different schools. And so now what we've done is, as you saw earlier, we had to teach them how to drink. And by dipping their beaks in, we've done that. As you can see, they are quite hungry. And so right before they actually hatch, they absorb the rest of the yolk that's in the egg, and that will sustain them for 72 hours. But maybe not happily. So that meaning they want to eat more. And as you can see, they are now eating. And so just so you can see where they're going, and this is a heater to get them back to warm, and they can come and go from the heater as they please. Some have lights as heaters. It just depends on what we have there. This bin here is going to West Boulevard Elementary. This bin here is going to Blue Ridge Elementary. This is the kind of hidden here, but this is the Cedar Ridge bin. Then way over here we have Battle Elementary. Jefferson Middle School already has chickens, but they're getting a second round, so they're getting some more chickens. Russell Boulevard is this bin. And then we already have chickens at 2 Mile Prairie and Fairview Elementary. So that'll make 8 different schools at this point that have little mini chicken farms. And they will go to the schools. They're going to spend the holiday weekend with us. And then right after the holiday weekend, we're going to deliver them to schools. They'll stay in these bins for about 6 weeks because they don't, if you look at them carefully, they have no feathers. They just have fuzz. And therefore the fuzz is not waterproof. and the fuzz is not very warming. So it takes 6 weeks for them to get the waterproof and kind of temperature-proof feathers. Then, as it starts getting a little warmer and they get feathers, we will put them in their outdoor chicken coops. Hello, everybody. Now, this past weekend, we've come in, members of the science staff, every day to check on the chicks, just because they had a really cold journey. And more importantly, it is important that they have human interaction the first few days, because then they get used to humans and it actually changes their personality the rest of their life. And so I'm here, and there's Mrs. Webb, she's here, and I'm just gonna show you quickly what we do. And so these are the chickens. These happen to be going to Jefferson Middle School. And what we're going to do is we're going to take each chicken and we're just going to play with it a little bit. And so I'm just going to put it right next to the camera so you can see it. And Daniel's over there, and he's going to help me out with Daniel Webb with because these are the black ones. And so, Daniel, can you use our notes? There's 3 different types of black ones. A little bit, barely any yellow on top.
I believe that's the astronaut.
Okay, this is a black Australope, and the reason we know that very little yellow on top, because we have 3 black ones, little yellow, and a lot of yellow on the bottom. Now, the other thing we're going to do here that you may find a little bit disgusting is there is a thing in baby chicks up to 10 days old called pasty butt. It's exactly what it sounds like. And what happens is their intestines and the opening is so small that sometimes it gets clogged up on the outside. And if it gets clogged up on the outside, then they cannot process their food. They'll stop eating, they'll get smaller, and they'll die. So what we have to do is get rid of that. So we're looking and we are clear, okay? It would be so obvious, and we already took care of that today, on about, what, five or six chicks? And so we are now pasty butt free. But just to show you a couple more, we have, this is called a cinnamon queen. And the cinnamon queen is going to be it has these kind of darker stripes on the back, and then it's going to be a brownish color. And you look, they are pretty calm with humans, and that's the way we want to keep it. I'm going to try to get me out of the camera and more chicken, because you don't want to see me. All right. Okay. And then, let's see, we got this one very close to a cinnamon queen. This is called a buff Orpington. And this one is a very mild-mannered chicken. Even when it gets bigger, it is so nice, and it's a puffy chicken, all tan or brown. And then Mrs. Webb has...
we think of Dominique, but I'd also, more importantly, it has an example of the pasty butt.
Okay, so I know that's probably not what you hope to see today on the video, but it is really important, and that's why we're here. After day 10, we don't have to check for this anymore, because then everything, all the openings in the intestines get big enough and everything flows just fine. All right, now I want to show you, this is one of my favorites just because it's so strange. This is called, well, we call it pants. Its real name is a dark Brahma. It has a really pretty color, but now what I want to show you, if it will hang its legs down. Let me back it up. Do you see how it has feathers on its legs? Wait till it gets larger. In this particular one, and this is why we call it pants, this will have a full set of like pant-like legs, all with feathers, and huge like feather shoes. And it's really hysterical, really almost ridiculous looking. These get really, really big too, and they're very docile. Matter of fact, all the chicks we bought are really good with kids and families. Now the other really interesting one, this is crazy, and it's cute now. It probably won't be that cute when it gets older, but we just had to get it. Look at the problem this one has on its neck. Well, that's not a problem. This is called a Turken naked neck chicken. And they were actually bred this way, oddly. And it will grow up to have this vulture-like neck. And I suspect that won't be that pretty. Maybe the kids can have it wear a scarf or something. But it's supposed to be also a very nice chicken. It's chirping because it wants its friends. And that's basically, okay, we have a barred rock now. Mrs. Webb has a barred rock. And you see why we have some problems with the black ones. And the barred rock and a Dominique, which is another black one, will get this really pretty, mostly black with white speckles when they get older. But right now they're inside for 6 weeks because they don't have their feathers, and so they would freeze to death. So we have to be careful. That was Daniel Webb in the background there, ducking from the camera. Oh, I forgot about the Easter egger. This is the Easter egger chicken, and it's a really cool chicken because this one's going to lay always blue and green eggs. So it's a really cool chicken. Thank you, Daniel. All right, and that's it. And then what we'll do is we just make sure that it has enough water and enough food down there and some water. And that black thing you see is its heater because it doesn't have a lot of heat. And there's either this kind of heater or there's the heaters that like this that they can go under to stay warm. And that's it. We're pretty much done for today, and then we're going to come back tomorrow and then the next day, and then we're going to send them to the schools, and the schools will take over this process.
Hi, my name is Liz Kalanda. I'm a student at Mizzou, and today I'll be talking all about snowflakes, how they form, their symmetry, and even a rare type of snow we had last Tuesday called snow needles. Changes in states of matter are important when forming snowflakes. When water goes from a liquid to a solid, we get ice cubes, but when it goes from a gas to a solid, we get snowflakes. Snowflakes form when water molecules in the sky bump into each other over time. According to Brookshire, it takes individual snowflakes anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour to form, which is pretty cool if you ask me. The reason for their symmetrical shape is due to the structure of water molecules. In this water molecule shown in the upper left, the oxygen atom, which is represented by the blue circle, has a larger share of electrons, making it slightly more negative. The hydrogen atoms, represented by the white circles, have a smaller share of electrons, making them slightly more positive. And the repulsion of electrons causes a 104.5-degree angle in water molecules. Because opposite charges attract, the partially positive hydrogen atom of one water molecule is attracted to the partially negative oxygen atom of another water molecule. And those little yellow dots represent hydrogen bonding. And hydrogen bonding is really awesome. It's not as strong as ionic bonding, which transfers electrons, or covalent bonding, which shares electrons, but it's still a pretty powerful attractive force. The hydrogen bonding in water molecules is also responsible for creating the surface tension that allows certain bugs to walk on water. As water vapor freezes, the hydrogen bonding between water molecules forms a hexagonal structure. The snowflakes start to form by bumping into other water molecules that branch off the original six-sided structure. So we know a little bit about how they form and their symmetry, but what about their shape? As a snowflake falls and forms, its shape is dependent entirely on the atmospheric conditions of the time, such as humidity and temperature. And no two snowflakes are exactly the same shape because each flake follows its own unique path from the sky to the ground. And as I mentioned earlier, last Tuesday, we had a super rare type of snow called snow needles. And that's because it was exactly 23 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So if it was any warmer or any cooler, we wouldn't have had the chance to experience that. So thank you all for listening and stay warm.
Hey guys, it's Allie. Because it's been so gosh darn cold lately, I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of household wintertime maintenance and some science behind it, of course. So you might have heard about how the pipes under your sink and in your walls can freeze in the winter. When it gets so cold that the temperature drops below 32 degrees, it can make the pipes in your home burst open and get water everywhere. So here's why. Water is a special substance because when it freezes, its molecules don't squeeze up together really tightly like they do in most substances. Instead, when water molecules drop below 32 degrees, its molecules spread out and try to find more space. So it expands. So let's look at a real example of this science in action. I'm going to fill this cup to the very top with water. And then I'll place a piece of flat cardboard over it. Then I'm going to put it outside for a while, where it has been well below the freezing point for some time, and it will stay that way for a while longer, unfortunately. What do we think will happen to that piece of cardboard? Do we think it'll stay where it is right now? Or will it have moved once the water freezes? Well, I tried this earlier so I could actually show you guys what happened. This cup has been outside for a couple of hours, and if you look, you can see the cardboard has been lifted up by the water, which is now ice. This was completely flat earlier. That means that the molecules spread out and expanded as they froze. Could you have imagined what would have happened if I tried this experiment in a glass jar with a tight lid on top? The water molecules would have been trying to expand with nowhere to go, so it probably would have broken my jar. Well, the same thing happens with the pipes in your home. When the temperature drops below 32 degrees, the freezing molecules are trying to expand with no place to go, so the pipes burst open. A good way to avoid freezing and bursting pipes is to leave some of your faucets on just a tiny bit during the cold winter months in your home, especially when you leave for long periods of time. Just the simple drip is usually enough to keep that water flowing through the pipes to keep them from freezing. But double check with your parents or your caregivers before doing that, so you don't get in trouble for leaving the water on.
Hello, this is Mike Sadlowski, and I'm down here at Eagle Bluffs Conservation Area this past Saturday, February 13th, 2001, and right along the Missouri River, because we have a phenomena called ice pancakes, or it's actually the more technological term is it's frazzle ice. So what we have here is frazzle ice, and I'm going to kind of step up a little bit on the bank. Right now it's 8 degrees, and if you look, this ice here is flowing all the way, in some cases this ice formed in Nebraska, and it's coming all the way down river, and this does not happen every year. But the frazzle ice is characterized, if you look, it's this tumbling and twirling ice that if you kind of look at that one right there, right in the center of the screen, it's almost like they call ice pancakes or even ice donuts. See if we can find another. Oh, here comes another really good ice donut here, or pancake. 2 of them, right down the river. And if you notice, the edges are bulged up, and the center is a smoother ice. And the reason for that is as they're traveling down the river, they keep smashing into one another like bumper cars. And that bumper cars keeps pushing up the ice on the edges. And because they're also twirling, here's another one right here, because they're twirling, they are bumped on all sides, and that's what gives it its round shape, and the raised edge are from those, basically the ice pancake bumper boats. But then in the center, here's one that's a little bit rougher, but in the center, that is protected from the bumping, and so that creates a smoother, more solid ice. And I don't know if you can actually, here comes a big one down the river here. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this. I suspect not. But I'm going to get really close to the river and get quiet because there's this really cool slushy sound. All right, I'm going to get quiet right now as this big one comes by. All right, I suspect you didn't hear anything besides a little wind, but anyway, this is gonna be here for a little while because even if we start to warm up a little up in Nebraska, it's gonna be cold for quite some time. So before it all goes solid, if it does, come down to Eagle Bluffs or Cooper's Landing, and you can even see it from the comfort of your car if you want. But again, this is frazzle ice, and it'll continue this until maybe it gets so thick that it actually freezes over. Enjoy.